Welcome to Celebrating Everyday People, where we recognize those amazing people doing amazing work out there. My co host is Malcolm Berman, and my name is Yana Larson. You can find us on malcolmpresents.com and on Malcolm's YouTube. We also have a Facebook page, and we're on Buzzsprout in all major directories and
Keep on going.
and beyond as we enhance our online presence. Sorry about that. Today, our guest is Gary Oppenheimer. Gary Oppenheimer is the creator of ampleharvest.org, a nationwide 501c3 nonprofit that connects home gardeners with local food pantries so surplus produce becomes nourishment instead of waste. He saw that solving hunger could start by unlocking the fresh food already growing in 62 million backyards, then built a nonprofit that makes sharing it easy for everyone. His work has helped more than 5,800 communities access healthier food while cutting unnecessary waste. A self-described aging geek, aging geek, and master gardener from northern New Jersey, Gary used his background in technology to tackle food waste and hunger in a simple neighbor to neighbor way. Recognized as a CNN hero and World Food Prize nominee, he still thinks like a backyard gardener at heart, believing that small acts like sharing a few extra tomatoes can quietly change lives. Gary's innovative view of hunger relief shows how simple ideas scaled with smart technology can spark real change. And that's what this show is all about, uh, recognizing people who are making a big difference. So, welcome, Gary. Where should we start?
Well, thank you for inviting me. And I think we should start with what you ended with, which was that, basically ordinary people can do big things. So while I'm the face of ampleharvest.org and the founder, the real heroes are the 62 million people in America who garden, who donate their surplus food. They are really the heroes. And I've used to say in the past that, if you look at Leonard Bernstein when he used to, or any conductor when they conduct an orchestra, they're waving a stick, but they're not making the music. It's actually the musicians who make the music. And that's really the impact. So I'm the conductor. 62 million musicians are helping to make America healthier.
Okay.
How's that for a start?
How did you come up with the concept and tell us exactly in your own words what it is and how you get people involved? Or
Okay.
Gordon.
I came up with the concept. I'm going to give you two answers to that. One is that I grew up as a young kid. I was born in the early 50s with finish what's on your plate, kids are starving in Europe. So the idea of not wasting food is built into my DNA. And I'm also a problem solver, and I am, and as you said, an aging geek. And I had to say that carefully because somebody once thought I said Asian geek on a radio show, and that's not. Um, but I solve problems. And I had realized in the back in 2008 and 9 when my garden was overflowing that I wanted to find a place to donate food to. And I found a battered women's shelter in my town. I was then asked to take over a local community garden here in northern New Jersey. The gardeners who were there were complaining about food going to waste in the garden as the season went on. And I said, if we're going to have an ample harvest, the least we could do is get it to people who really need it. And that was the beginning of Ample Harvest.org. And by the way, I had never said the phrase ample harvest in my life. It just rolled off, but that changed the health and well-being of the nation. In doing some due diligence, I realized that it was hard to find a food pantry. The internet was still growing, but you couldn't go on Yahoo or Google and easily find food pantries. You didn't know when and where to donate. And most of us gardeners didn't even bother because we all heard the same mantra every time we went to a food drive. That everybody said, jars, cans, boxes, no fresh food. So we were always had presumed that we weren't allowed to donate the food. And when I did some deep due diligence on it, I came to realize there's no reason why the food can't be donated. The problem was the architecture of the American Food Bank network, that resulted in jars and cans and boxes could take days or weeks to go from your generous donation to a hungry family. But we don't have that luxury with fresh food. It can't wait that long. And I realized that I could flatten the system, or what I now refer to as Uberizing the system, and I say that before Uber existed, to make it very much a peer-to-peer or point-to-point type of solution where the food came out of my garden. I took it to a food pantry in my own neighborhood, and the hungry families came in later that day, my own neighbors, to get the food, and it was on their dinner table at night. So that meant that number one, I wasn't wasting food. Number two, they were getting food fresh out of the ground, far healthier than you can buy in a supermarket. And number three, because of that just in time logic that I had put together to make this all work, the food pantry did not need to buy costly refrigeration or storage. And that was a big roadblock to many food pantries accepting food because they were afraid that lots of food would come in and they had no place to store it and refrigeration is costly. What I built was a model that allowed the food to go from my garden through a food pantry to a hungry family on a same day basis. That's the story of ampleharvest.org.
So now,
So,
yeah. Oh,
you don't have any kind of like organic requirements or anything like that from the gardeners?
Let me answer that two ways. Number one is that we don't touch the gardeners, we don't touch the food. The gardener comes and says, "Where can I donate the food?" The reality is that in large part, most gardeners grow organically. They're feeding their own family with the food. This is not like a big ag food where, somebody's going to grow a whole farm load of tomatoes and they're going to put whatever on there to try to get a bigger crop and fewer bugs, and you have to then clean the tomatoes. The majority of gardeners tend to be organic to begin with. If you look in our frequently asked questions, we guide part, that's part of the guidance on there that it is generally the healthier way to do it. Still, if you are, when you get the food, if you feel you want to clean it off, certainly, do that. But, and the other point about it is that, and this is another point about ampleharvest.org that's different from any other program, is that ampleharvest.org is not really about the food. The food is the end result. But I start off by saying the misinformation that I'm not allowed to donate food. And I alluded to the missing information. Where and when do I donate the food? AmpleHarvest.org is an information solution to a hunger and food waste problem, just like Uber and Lyft are information solutions to transportation problem. They don't have cars and drivers. They use information to bring a driver and a vehicle to a passenger needing somebody needing a ride. We're using information to bring a gardener who has too much food to a food pantry that will receive it to redistribute it. But once the gardener knows that she can donate the food and to where, we've actually solved the problem and she'll never come to us again. For the rest of her gardening life, she'll be donating food directly to the food pantry.
for somehow I'm getting a little confused. The difference between a gardener who does it in their own backyard or someone who's a gardener that sells the fruit to, vegetable stores and, etc. How much,
Okay.
what is a small garden? You go to small gardeners or you go, I don't know if a mass gardener would be called farmer.
Yeah, and that's the distinction there. The distinction that we make is that a gardener grows food for pleasure, a farmer grows food for profit. I'm not interested in the farmers. Honestly, I want farmers to make a good living and I want them to sell everything they grow. I'm not asking farmers to donate food. Many will. That's great, but that's not our target. The 62 million people that we're targeting, that we're interested in, are people like you. You have a backyard garden, you're in a community garden, a rooftop garden, you're growing food for your own pleasure in your own property, not to make a profit because you like growing food and you want to eat it. The problem is you end up growing 11, we collectively grow 11 billion pounds more food than we can use, preserve, or share with friends. That's the target. That's the piece that nobody else, no other program in America focused on a nationwide scale.
Yeah,
Gardener.
yeah, this is the first I've heard of that, and
Yeah.
I would have thought that with I think we talked earlier and you mentioned Michelle Obama. I would think that when she was talking about growing fruits or having her own vegetable garden, that she would have talked something about that.
Well, let me start with this. We worked with Michelle Obama's Let's Move initiative. I had the privilege of having, I think, 7 White House visits in the Obama years. We worked very closely with Let's Move. She referred to it as Ample Harvest. She's the only person allowed to get away with it. The actual name is ampleharvest.org. If you go to ampleharvest.org/White House, you'll see where she both wrote and spoke about ampleharvest.org. Um, she was telling people 2 things: eat healthier and exercise.
Right.
Now, eat healthier implies, of course, fresh fruits and vegetables. It's probably also reduced fat and other things that you shouldn't have. But she was not making a distinction between garden food and farm food. And frankly, whether your fresh food comes from a supermarket, a farmer's market, or your own backyard, it's still the fresh food. The point is that with ampleharvest.org, we have 62 million people who grow more than they can use. They've historically not been allowed to, or thought they couldn't donate it. So ampleharvest.org enables them to learn that they can, enables them to donate it, and it becomes now a lifetime supply of fresh food from my backyard garden to the food pantry to help nourish my own neighbors in need. And I want to point out a magical point about ampleharvest.org also is that the fact that you may have been laid off and lost your job and need a food pantry to get bread and milk and cheese for your family doesn't mean that if you were already a gardener that you stop gardening. So there are people who go to food pantries to get bread and milk and cheese, but they themselves also are growing tomatoes and cucumbers and whatever else they're growing in their backyard. Ample Harvest gives them the opportunity to donate their surplus while getting help from the food pantry, which is hugely impactful for their sense of dignity and feeling like they're contributing, even though they themselves are also struggling.
Now, is your organization a for-profit organization, or do you have is
501c3, it's nonprofit.
Ample
non,
Harvest is a
well,
nationwide.
yeah, a lot of nonprofit companies make a lot of profit. It's
No, 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 no. Ample is a nonprofit. We eagerly seek donations from individuals, corporate partners, foundations. We have a very small staff who don't get paid enough for the work they do. But the large bulk of our money actually goes into the actual operation of ampleharvest.org. We have our two biggest corporate partners are Google and Bonnie Plants. Google gives us a huge amount of free advertising to help us reach millions and millions more gardeners. Bonnie Plants is the biggest player in the gardening space, and they've been a part of us now since the pandemic to help more and more people learn the solution to hungers in their backyard. So no, ampleharvest.org is not making money. Nonprofits don't make money. They do their work, and they're supposed to be putting the money into the work that they're doing. And our annual report and our financials are online for anybody to see.
I hope it's okay to mention this here, but the way I found out about you, Gary, is I was looking through volunteer opportunities, and I happened to find you on AARP. And so I sent you a note because I wanted to let you know about the show, and
Mhm.
because we're looking for people like you and others that are involved in similar activities or just taking, doing something to make a difference, even if it seems little. And you mentioned to me that you were hoping to be able to get in contact with more people of indigenous tribes
Yeah,
and to help be more of a part of this and to represent those peoples. So you want to talk about that?
absolutely. During the pandemic, well, look at the map behind me. Let's start with this for a second. This is the map of the communities plus wrong hand, Alaska and Hawaii. Uh, we're in 5,800 communities across all 50 states and growing. Our goal is to get to 10,000 communities in 3 years. And you're going to see that over here on the eastern half of the country, we're doing good. We have a lot more work to do. We're doing good. And on the West Coast, we're doing good. But Texas and Southwest and up, I'm wrong hands, I'm sorry, but going up to the plains, not as much as I would have liked and we should have been doing. And this really bothered me because hunger is in every county in America. Gardeners are across America. What was going wrong? I am a decade-long friend with a highly respected tribal elder named Chief Henry Red Cloud Lakota from Pine Ridge Reservation. And I couldn't figure out where were we missing the boat in this area with low density of dots. So Henry and I spent some time, and I realized with his guidance and leadership that a good deal of where we're not is where Native American reservations are. And we overlaid the map. If you go to ampleharvest.org/, Indian country, you can actually see the maps overlaid. So we spent, with the help of Google and Bonnie Plants, we adapted Ample Harvest. First, we did studies and surveys and stuff with tribal elders and indigenous food sovereignty experts to learn more about their traditions, their values, the thises and that's. We learned, by the way, that Native Americans do more gardening per capita than any other segment of America.
Mm.
So we adapted ampleharvest.org to actually work with Native American reservations to meet their needs, their circumstances, the logistics, the appropriate use of words. And so we now have an adaptation of ampleharvest.org that's called ampleharvest.org in Indian country, specifically to meet the needs of tribal communities. And we're working very hard to fill in those the blanker areas on the map. And we're always looking for people who are indigenous from any nation to join us and help us in more rapidly accelerating that growth. It's an important part because the Native American communities and a good chunk of rural America overlap, and we can sort of kill two birds with one stone with that program.
Yeah, I'm just wondering that there's an old Harvard axiom, that 20% of your business gives you 80% of your profits. That's in the business mode. Is that true also in people who are donating food? Do 20% of your farmers give
Gardeners.
you 80% of your produce?
No,
Or is it broken?
the average gardener, the now this is going to be kind of hard. If you live in New Jersey, where I am, where land is at a premium, you may say, who can have a garden this big? The average garden in America is 600 square feet. And if you live in a suburb, you can think it's a ridiculous amount, maybe 10 square feet or 100 square feet. The average gardener grows 240 pounds a year more food than they can use, the average gardener. Now, there are going to be some people who are going to show up. I've got 5 tomatoes and that's all of my surplus, and that's fine.
Mm,
There are going to be some people who come in week after week with boxes of whatever they're
mm,
growing. There is no rule that applies to all of the gardeners. The
mm.
point is that if you have surplus you can't use, donate it. And I would say the same thing like if you're a parent with children growing up. If you have one child who's outgrowing their clothing, donate that clothing they're not going to wear anymore to a local thrift shop. If you got 5 kids who are outgrowing their clothing and they don't want hand-me-downs, you got 5 times the amount of clothing. Don't let the clothing go to waste.
You're very,
So the amount that's going to come in, it isn't important how much you donate. It's simply that you don't waste the surplus that
yeah,
you
yeah,
have,
yeah.
particularly when so many Americans need food and particularly need nutritious food.
Okay, Gary, two things because we're winding down right now.
Okay.
Uh, Number one, how can people donate to you?
Easy. Visit ampleharvest.org/support to learn how you can make an online donation to ampleharvest.org, $5, $50, $500, whatever. And if you want to visit ampleharvest.org/our impact, all one word, you can actually see how $1 or $1,000 donation actually grows in impact over 20 years. It really,
Mm,
really does. If you are with a business that is looking, has a cause marketing program, a CSR program, we'd love to talk to you about it because it's something that really can help. And as part of that, if your cause marketing program contributes at least $10,000 to ampleharvest.org, you can have your name, your logo, your company's brand on every food pantry listing on ampleharvest.org in the state of your choosing for a full year.
mm,
So visit a food pantry in Alabama on ampleharvest.org to see Bonnie plans, for example. So whether you want to donate money online to ampleharvest.org, we could also take checks or crypto, or your company, we'd love to work with you. The money that you donate is not a one and done thing. It's not something you donate the money, we use it to feed somebody, and the money's gone. We're using it to fix a broken system, to
yeah.
repair the system so that food flows for the rest of the gardener's life. And that's a lasting impact on the health and well-being of America.
Now, how do you go about recruiting the gardeners, the people that have the
There's no
produce?
one way. We are blessed to have a massive grant from Google of almost $500,000 a year in advertising. Bonnie Plants, Scott's Miracle Grow, both are helping us with promoting ampleharvest.org through their channels. I give talks and speeches, podcasts like this. I'm a CNN hero, World Food Prize nominee, give lots of talks. There's no one way to reach everybody. One gardener is 21 years old, fresh, and they're beginning their life. The next gardener is a grandmother or a grandfather, and they're using very different communications tools. The whole thing is just letting the word get out, and we just continue working to help people know the solution to hunger is in their backyard.
Well, what I'm a believer in, and you probably use it already, is to go to all the colleges and the universities
Yeah,
because in their agricultural department or even in their marketing department, they probably would like to do help the cause for you and
yeah.
go out
I,
local in those
I,
categories.
yeah. I do want to point out before we go that as big as AmpleHarvest.org is, the main program, the Indian Country program, and some other work we do, 5,800 communities, 8,300 food pantries. Our entire staff is 4 people. That's it.
Well,
That's the magic of an information-based solution is the ability to scale and create lasting impact without hiring thousands of people and hundreds of offices. You asked the question about where the money goes. It doesn't go to infrastructure. It actually goes to programmatic impact.
right. And the last thing is, I don't know, probably, you've spoken to Yana that I have a website. It's called malcolmpresents.com, which I'm trying to build up to a network, both of us trying to, and I have several different shows. If in your creative things you could use us as a tool, we could set up a separate show that you
I'll
could
make sure
do.
my phone is turned off.
Yeah.
Okay.
That you could do a separate show for different things and update every week or every 2 weeks, for 15, 20 minutes or less. You're more than welcome if you
We
come up
can
with a
certainly
creative
talk
idea.
about that as a possibility. But the real voice here is the gardener who shares the news with their fellow gardeners. But I'll tell you one other very quickly program we have is called Faith Fights Food Waste. It's a program for the faith community, for Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, and Unitarian faith leaders to help them learn about speaking about not wasting food to their own congregants from their own faith perspective. We're not a religious program at all, but 70% of food pantries are in house of worship, which makes it a logical thing. So that's another big thing when a priest or rabbi or imam can talk to 5 or 50 or 500 congregants to let them know 20% of the people in the
Right.
pews are gardeners, to let them know that they can be donating food.
Right. Actually, another thing, another offshoot that I thought of, with my producing creative abilities, is having a show on gardening. I mean, I don't know if there are any out there.
There are plenty of shows out there, and that, by the way, we don't tell people to garden. We don't tell people how to garden. That's other people's jobs. And we also don't run food banks, and we don't tell people.
Right.
There's a lot of we're doing the thing that nobody else does, and we
Yeah,
stick to that. And that is helping a gardener learn that they can donate food, helping a food pantry learn that there are gardeners who want to donate the food, bringing the two together, and then we get out of the picture.
sounds good to me. Anyway, Janet, thank you very much. Janet's going to take us out.
Thank you.
Yes. To our listening public, we hope you have enjoyed our show. If you have any questions or comments, please send us a message at malcolmpresents@gmail.com. Remember, you can find us at malcolmpresents.com and YouTube and Celebrating Everyday People on Facebook and Buzzsprout. And please check out ampleharvest.org. Thank you. Bye from all of us.
Bye.